Commander Vexai's 6 arms moved quickly across the control panel as warning lights flashed red throughout the emergency response station. The arthropod-like alien had never seen readings like this before. His compound eyes focused on the display screen that showed entire star systems going dark one by one. The Galactic Council's most peaceful station orbited Zelthera Prime, a world known for its beautiful crystal gardens and gentle inhabitants. For 3,000 years, this place had been the center of galactic peace. Species from across the galaxy came here to solve problems with words instead of weapons. War was something that happened in ancient history books, not in real life. But now something was destroying everything they had built. Vexai touched a communication device with one of his lower arms. "Council members, please report to the emergency chamber immediately. We have a crisis." Within minutes, representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber. The Althari came first, their crystal bodies glowing with nervous energy. Their species had been the first to achieve faster-than-light travel and had spent millions of years spreading peace throughout the galaxy. Behind them floated the Luminari, beings made of pure energy who communicated through light patterns. The plant-like Verdani swayed gently as they entered, their leaves rustling with concern. Vexai activated the main display. 3 days ago, our long-range sensors detected unusual activity in the Outer Rim territories. We thought it was just solar flares or cosmic storms. We were wrong. The display showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared where star systems used to be, spreading like an infection across the outer regions. "The Devourers have awakened," Vexai said quietly. The chamber fell silent. The Devourers were supposed to be a myth, a story told to young aliens about mechanical monsters that ate entire worlds. They had been asleep for over 1,000,000 years, so long that most species thought they were just legends from the early days of galactic civilization. "That is impossible," said Zerale, the lead Althari representative. Her crystal body dimmed with fear. "The Devourers were destroyed long ago. Our records show they were defeated by the Ancient Alliance." Vexai touched another control. The display changed to show massive mechanical structures moving between stars. The machines looked like metal spiders the size of small moons, with countless smaller versions swarming around them. "Our scouts sent this footage before they were destroyed," Vexai explained. "The Devourers are not just awake. They are hungry. They convert everything they touch into more of themselves. Planets, moons, even stars become raw material for building more machines." A luminary named Brightsong flashed patterns of distress. "How many systems have fallen?" 47 confirmed losses, but the rate is increasing. "They consumed 5 systems yesterday alone." Vexai's voice carried the weight of impossible numbers. "At this rate, they will reach the core worlds within 6 months. The Verdani representative, a towering tree like being called root deep, swayed with horror. "What about our defense fleets? Our technology is far more advanced than it was 1,000,000 years ago." Vexai activated another display. It showed the wreckage of what had once been the pride of the Aetheri fleet. Massive crystal ships lay broken and dark, their beautiful forms twisted into scrap metal. The 7th Althari fleet engaged them at the Kepler system. All 300 ships were destroyed or converted within 4 hours. The Devourers learned from each attack and adapted instantly. Our peaceful technologies cannot match their single-minded focus on destruction. The chamber erupted with worried voices in dozens of languages. Species that had lived in peace for millennia suddenly faced extinction. Their ships were designed for exploration and research, not warfare. Their weapons were meant for mining asteroids or studying stars, not fighting an enemy that existed only to consume and grow. Zarale's crystal form flickered. "What about the other advanced civilizations? The Centauri Alliance? The Ring Builders? Gone," Vexai said simply. "The Centauri Alliance fell 2 days ago. The Ring Builders tried to hide in their pocket dimensions, but the Devourers found a way to follow them. We are receiving distress calls from across the galaxy, but no one has found a way to stop them." Root Depth's leaves rustled with desperation. "There must be something we can do. Some weapon or strategy we have not considered." Vexai looked around the chamber at the representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. They were brilliant, peaceful and completely unprepared. For this kind of threat, their cultures had evolved beyond violence, beyond the need for weapons of war. It was their greatest achievement, and now their greatest weakness. "There is one option left," he said slowly. "The beacon of last resort." The chamber fell silent. Again, the beacon was a device built by the Ancient Alliance, designed to send a distress call to every corner of the galaxy. It had never been used because activating it meant admitting that the galactic civilization was about to end. "If we activate the beacon, we send a message to every inhabited world," Vexai continued. "We ask for help from anyone who might have the strength to fight. It is our last hope that somewhere in the galaxy there is a species we have never met that might be able to help us." Brightsong flashed patterns of doubt.
Oh.
What if no one answers? What if every species is like us, built for peace instead of war? "Then we face extinction with dignity," Zerla said, her crystal body glowing with sad determination. "But if there is even a small chance that someone out there can help, we must try." The vote was unanimous. Within an hour, the beacon of last resort was prepared for activation. The device drew power from Zelthera Prime's star, creating a signal that could travel faster than light to reach every inhabited system in the galaxy. Vexai placed his primary hand on the activation control. "This message will carry our plea for help, along with all our technical knowledge about the Devourers. May the cosmos grant that someone receives it who can make use of this information." He pressed the control. The beacon activated with a flash of light that could be seen from space. The signal raced outward at impossible speeds, carrying a simple message in every known language: "Help us. The Devourers have returned. We are not strong enough to stop them alone." The message traveled through space, reaching peaceful worlds, where civilized species read it with horror and sympathy, but no ability to help. It reached empty systems where no one lived to hear it. It reached dangerous nebulae, where primitive species were still learning to use fire, and it reached a small yellow star on the edge of the galaxy, where a blue and green world spun quietly in space.
Galactic.
The Galactic database listed this world as uninhabitable, a death trap of extreme gravity, violent weather, and dangerous predator species. On this world, in a facility called the SETI Institute, Dr. Lisa Carter was working late when her computers detected the alien signal. She had spent her entire career listening for signs of intelligent life in the universe. She had never expected to receive a desperate cry for help. Lisa stared at her screens as the message played. The translation programs worked quickly, turning alien languages into English. As she read the translated text, her hands began to shake. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she had memorized, but never thought she would use. "General Hayes," a voice answered. "General, this is Dr. Carter at SETI. I need you to get down here immediately." "No. We just received a message from space and you need to see this." "Another false alarm, Doctor?" Lisa looked at her screen again, reading. "About mechanical monsters that ate entire star systems and peaceful aliens facing extinction? No, sir. This time it's real. And they need our help." General Rick Hayes stared at the alien message for the third time in 2 hours. The translated text covered dozens of pages filled with technical details about machines that consumed entire star systems. Around him, the Pentagon emergency room buzzed with activity as the world's top military minds tried to understand what they were dealing with. "Let me get this straight," said Admiral Susan Clark, head of naval operations. "These aliens are asking for military assistance against robot monsters that eat planets." Dr. Lisa Carter nodded from her seat at the conference table. "The translation is clear. Multiple alien civilizations are facing extinction. They sent out a galaxy-wide distress call hoping someone could help them fight. And they think we can." "Do something about it?" asked Air Force General Pete Williams. "These aliens have faster-than-light travel. They've been spacefaring for millions of years. What could we possibly offer them?" Paul Jenkins from NASA leaned forward. "That's exactly the point. Look at their ship designs." He activated a holographic display showing alien vessels. "Everything is built for exploration, research, peaceful contact. These are not warships. The alien ships look like floating crystals, organic pods, and geometric light patterns. They were beautiful and advanced, but they had no weapons, no armor, no design elements that suggested military thinking. Dr. Kate Morgan from the Theoretical Physics Department stood up. The technical specifications they included are incredible. Their energy systems, their faster-than-light drives, their materials science. But there's something missing from all of it. What? General Hayes asked. Any concept of warfare? These civilizations evolved past the need for violence. They solved their problems through cooperation and advanced technology. They never developed military science because they never needed it. General Hayes walked to the window overlooking the Potomac River. So they're asking the only species stupid enough to still fight wars to come save them. Stupid or experienced. Dr. Morgan corrected. We've been refining the art of warfare for thousands of years. Every advance in human technology has military applications. You think about conflict in ways these peaceful species never had to consider. Hayes turned back to the group. Gentlemen and ladies, I'm authorizing Operation Rising Phoenix. Dr. Morgan. I want you heading up a team to reverse engineer their faster-than-light technology. We need ships that can reach the battle zone. General Dr. Carter interrupted. The closest alien systems are thousands of light years away. Even if we could build ships, it would take months to get there. Then we better start building fast ships, Hayes replied. Admiral Clark, I want every shipyard on the planet working on this project. We're going to build humanity's first interstellar fleet. Over the next 2 weeks, the most classified project in human history began taking shape. Dr. Alan Foster led weapons development, studying alien energy systems and figuring out how to weaponize them. His team worked around the clock, combining human military knowledge with alien technology. The aliens used these energy beams for mining and construction, Foster explained to his team. But if we increase the power output and focus the beam differently, we can turn them into directed energy weapons. Meanwhile, Commander Jake Sullivan prepared the first group of human space marines. The selection process was brutal, choosing only the toughest soldiers from every branch of the military. Listen up, Sullivan addressed his new unit. We're about to become the first humans to fight in interstellar space. The enemy doesn't negotiate, doesn't retreat, and doesn't show mercy. They exist only to consume and grow. Our job is to stop them. The Marines trained with weapons that didn't exist a month before, in conditions that would have been impossible without alien technology. They practiced zero-gravity combat, learned to fight in the vacuum of space, and studied enemy tactics from alien battle footage. Dr. Maya Thompson's engineering team made breakthrough after breakthrough. They discovered that human metallurgy, developed through centuries of warfare, was actually superior to alien materials in many ways. Human armor was designed to stop projectiles and absorb impacts, while alien materials were built for efficiency and beauty. We can combine their energy systems with our defensive technology, Thompson reported to General Hayes. The result will be ships that can take punishment and keep fighting, something the galaxy has never seen before. The construction of humanity's first interstellar warship began in secret lunar facilities. Captain Danny Rivera oversaw the project, working with shipbuilders who were learning alien technology as they built. The EU's Defiance took shape over 6 months. It looked nothing like the peaceful alien vessels. The ship was angular and armored, bristling with weapons systems and defensive measures. Every design choice was made with combat in mind. She's not pretty, Rivera said, looking at the completed ship, but she's built to fight. As the Defiance prepared for launch, the aliens sent another message. Commander Vex High appeared on the communication screen, his compound eyes reflecting exhaustion and desperation. Species of Earth, the alien began. We have received your response to our distress call. We must advise against your proposed course of action. The Devourers have consumed 47 more systems since our last message. Our greatest civilizations have fallen. Please reconsider risking your species in a battle you cannot win. General Hayes stepped in front of the camera. Commander Vexai, thank you for your concern, but you made one mistake in your calculations. Mistake? You assumed we're like you? We're not. We've been fighting wars since before we could write. We've been preparing for this fight our entire evolutionary history. We just didn't know it yet. The alien's compound eyes flickered with confusion. Your species evolved from predators. Your world is classified as uninhabitable due to extreme conditions. How does this help against the Devourers? Hayes smiled grimly. Because, Commander, we learned to survive on a world that was trying to kill us every day. We learned to fight. Creatures bigger and stronger than us. We learned to use tools and weapons and work together against impossible odds. Your people are explorers and philosophers. We're survivors and warriors. Behind him, the UES Defiance completed its final systems check. The ship's crew of 300 humans prepared for humanity's first interstellar voyage. They carried weapons that had never been tested in combat, using technology they barely understood, heading toward an enemy that had destroyed civilizations millions of years old. Commander Hayes continued. You asked the galaxy for help, and everyone else was too scared or too civilized to answer. But you didn't ask the right question. What question should we have asked? You should have asked, who in this galaxy is crazy enough to pick a fight with monsters that eat stars? Hayes gestured toward the Defiance. The answer is us. Captain. Rivera's voice came over the ship's communication system. General Hayes, the Defiance is ready for departure. All systems green, crew prepared for combat operations. Hayes nodded. Take her out, Captain. Show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. The UES Defiance launched from lunar orbit. It's faster than light drive, creating a tier in space itself. As the ship disappeared into the void, alien observers throughout the galaxy detected something unprecedented. For the first time in galactic history, someone was voluntarily flying toward the Devourers instead of running away. On monitoring stations throughout the galaxy, peaceful species watched long range sensors as the human ship accelerated toward the combat zone. The readings made no sense to civilizations that had evolved beyond violence. The humans showed no fear. Their biological readings indicated excitement, anticipation, even eagerness for battle. Two species that viewed conflict as a last resort. The human response was incomprehensible. Commander Vexhai studied the data from his command station. The humans were heading directly toward the most dangerous Devourer concentration, a system where 3 entire alien fleets had been destroyed. What kind of species evolves on a world so dangerous that interstellar war seems like an adventure? He wondered aloud. His aide, a young Altheri, named Velshon, dimmed with worry. Commander, what if we have made a terrible mistake? Ow. What if these humans are as dangerous as the Devourers? Vexai watched the human ship disappear into faster-than-light travel. Perhaps Velshon. But right now, they are dangerous creatures, pointing their weapons at our enemies instead of us. Let us hope that is enough. The EU's Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Danny Rivera stood on the bridge, looking at a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life, where beautiful crystal cities once floated. In space, only twisted metal and debris remained. Jesus, whispered Lieutenant Amy Foster from the tactical station. The whole system is gone. Through the main viewing screen, they could see massive mechanical spiders moving between the wreckage. The Devourers were harvesting what remained of the Altheri civilization, converting their crystal technology into more of themselves. Each machine was the size of a small moon, with thousands of smaller drones swarming around them. Called out Ensign Bobby Chen from the sensor station. I'm detecting 17 large Devourer units and approximately 4,000 smaller ones. They're stripping matter from the asteroid belt and feeding it into construction bays. Rivera activated the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage an enemy that has destroyed civilizations millions of years older than ours. But remember, they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. In the Marine Bay, Sergeant Billy Thompson checked his assault rifle one more time. The weapon was a hybrid of human and alien technology, firing energy bolts that could punch through starship armor. Around him, 50 Marines prepared for something that had never been attempted in galactic history. "Listen up, Marines," Thompson called out. "We're about to board enemy ships and fight these things hand to hand. The aliens think we're crazy. They're probably right. But that's what makes us effective." The Devourers noticed the human ship immediately. Their sensors had been programmed over millions of years to detect and analyze approaching vessels. But the readings from the UES Defiance made no sense to their ancient programming. The ship was small compared to the massive alien vessels they usually faced. It showed signs of primitive construction mixed with advanced technology. Most confusing of all, it was accelerating directly toward them instead of running away. The largest Devourer unit, designated Prime Harvest by its collective intelligence, opened a communication channel. Its mechanical voice filled the bridge. Of the Defiance. "Unknown vessel, you have entered a consumption zone. Withdraw immediately or be processed for raw materials." Captain Rivera stepped forward. "This is Captain Danny Rivera of the United Earthship Defiance. You are ordered to cease your attack on peaceful civilizations and surrender immediately." Devourer's response came after a long pause. Analysis incomplete. "Your vessel design indicates primitive technology, yet incorporates advanced systems. Your species is not in our database. State your origin and purpose." "We're from Earth," Rivera replied, "and our purpose is to stop you from eating our friends." "Earth designation unknown. Classification insignificant. You'll be processed." Rivera smiled grimly. "You can try." The battle began when the nearest Devourer unit launched a cloud of hunter-killer drones toward the Defiance. These weapons had destroyed every alien fleet that had faced them, adapting instantly to enemy tactics and overwhelming them with superior numbers. But they had never faced human tactics before. Instead of trying to fight the drones with fancy energy weapons or defensive shields, the Defiance did something that horrified watching alien observers. The ship accelerated directly into the drone cloud, its armored hull crushing smaller machines while its point defense guns sprayed bullets in all directions. "What are they doing?" Commander Vex High asked from his observation post 3 light. "Years away, they're using their ship as a weapon?" The human approach was so primitive and violent that the Devourer drones couldn't adapt fast enough. Their programming had no protocols for dealing with enemies that used ramming attacks and projectile weapons in the age of energy shields and guided missiles. The Defiance punched through the drone screen and opened fire on the nearest Devourer. Harvester. Human weapons, designed through centuries of warfare, focused on maximum damage rather than elegant efficiency. Energy beams tore through the machine's outer hull, while nuclear missiles detonated against its core systems. For the first time in a million years, a Devourer unit was damaged in combat. "Impossible," the Prime Harvest transmitted. "Your weapons are primitive. You should not be able to penetrate our defenses." "That's where you're wrong," Rivera replied. "Our weapons aren't primitive. They're proven."
Ow.
The Defiance maneuvered alongside. The damaged Harvester and Captain Rivera gave an order that no alien commander had ever considered. "Sergeant Thompson, you are cleared for boarding action." The Marine assault pods launched from the Defiance like bullets from a gun. Each pod carried 5 Marines in full combat armor, armed with weapons designed to fight in the vacuum of space. They smashed through the Harvester's hull and began the first boarding action in galactic history. Sergeant Thompson was the first human to set foot inside a Devourer ship. The interior was a maze of mechanical components and processing chambers, designed for efficiency rather than defense against boarders. The Devourers had never needed to worry about enemies getting inside their ships. "Move fast, Marines," Thompson ordered through his helmet radio. "Find their control center and shut this thing down." The Devourer drones inside the ship were built for construction and maintenance, not combat. They tried to stop the Marines with cutting tools and welding equipment, but they were no match for soldiers trained in close-quarters battle. Private Lisa Martinez kicked down a maintenance hatch and found herself face-to-face with a Devourer control unit. The machine looked like a mechanical brain the size of a car, surrounded by cables and processing nodes. "Found their brain," she reported. "Light it up," Thompson replied. Martinez placed explosive charges around the control unit, while her squad held off the maintenance drones. When the charges detonated, the entire harvester began to shut down. For the first time in a million years, a Devourer unit had been killed from the inside. The explosion of the harvester sent shockwaves through the Devourer collective. It faced energy beings, crystal entities, and advanced artificial intelligences. They had never faced creatures that used explosives and physical violence as problem-solving tools. The remaining Devourer units tried their standard psychological warfare tactics. They began broadcasting images of consumed civilizations, showing the Defiance crew what had happened to every species that had opposed them. The human response shocked both the machines and the aliens watching from distant observation posts. Instead of becoming demoralized, the crew became more aggressive. Several Marines requested permission to board more Devourer ships. The bridge crew started making jokes about the enemy while targeting their next victim. "Captain," Lieutenant Foster reported, "they're trying to scare us with pictures of destroyed planets." "Tell them we've seen worse," Rivera replied. "Show them footage from World War II." Humans transmitted back images from their own history. Battles that had raged across entire continents, cities reduced to rubble, soldiers fighting with nothing but determination and primitive weapons. The Devourers paused their attack. Their collective intelligence tried to process what they were seeing. These humans had fought wars against their own species that were more brutal than anything in the Galactic database. Analysis update. The Prime Harvest transmitted. Our species appears to be adapted for warfare. This is ... unusual. "Welcome to Earth," Rivera replied, then gave the order that changed galactic history. "All units, attack pattern Delta. Show them what a death world teaches its children." The used Defiance began a systematic assault on the Devourer forces, using tactics that would have been considered war crimes by peaceful alien standards. They used the system's asteroids as kinetic weapons. Detonated the remains of Altheri ships to create debris fields, and coordinated ramming attacks with boarding actions. Within 6 hours, the Kepler 442 system was clear of Devourer forces. 17 Harvester units had been destroyed, and 4,000 drones had been eliminated. The EU's Defiance had taken damage, but all crew members survived. As news of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy, surviving alien populations reacted with a mixture of relief and horror. Someone had finally defeated the Devourers. But the methods used were more violent than anything in their civilized experience. Dr. Nora Campbell, Earth's first xenobiologist in space, made contact with a group of Altheri refugees hiding in the system's outer asteroids. The crystal beings were amazed that anyone had survived the Devourer attack. "How did you defeat them?" asked the Altheri leader, his crystal body flickering with confusion. "They have consumed 49 star systems. No one has been able to stop them." Dr. Campbell looked out at the wreckage of the battle, where human recovery teams were already salvaging Devourer technology for study. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years," she explained. "We learned to fight back against impossible odds. Your people are explorers and philosophers. We're survivors who happen to have spaceships." The Althari leader dimmed with understanding. "In fear, you are predators." "Yes," Campbell replied honestly, "but we're predators who protect our friends." 6 months after the victory at Kepler 442, Admiral Steve Johnson stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching humanity's growing fleet spread across the Vega system. What had started as one experimental warship had become an armada of 50 vessels, each one incorporating lessons learned from fighting the Devourers. The ships looked nothing like the peaceful alien vessels that had once traveled these space lanes. Human warships were angular and brutal, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. They had been built on dead worlds using materials stripped from Devourer wrecks and abandoned alien colonies. Admiral reported Captain Chris Parker from the reconnaissance vessel, U.S. Hunter. Long-range scans show Devourer activity in 17 systems. They're adapting faster than we expected. Johnson studied the tactical display. The red dots representing enemy forces seemed to pulse with malevolent intelligence. "How fast are they learning?" "Too fast, sir. Latest Devourer units are using coordinated attacks, and defensive formations. They're copying our own tactics and improving on them. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Green entered the bridge, carrying a datapad filled with reports from the Alien Relations Division. As humanity's first diplomatic officer trained in dealing with refugees from consumed worlds, she had the hardest job in the fleet. "Admiral, we have a problem," Green said. "The Verdani survivors are refusing to board transport ships, they say. They would rather die than associate with quote-unquote violent predators." Johnson sighed. This was becoming a common problem. The peaceful alien species were grateful for human protection, but many found human methods too brutal to accept. What triggered this particular incident? They saw footage from the Proson battle. Specifically, Marines using flamethrowers inside a Devourer ship. "Those flamethrowers saved 300 civilian aliens," Johnson pointed out. "The Verdani don't see it that way. To them, we're becoming as destructive as the enemy we're fighting." Tension between humans and their alien allies had been growing since the early victories. Species that had evolved beyond violence struggled to understand beings who viewed extreme warfare as a necessary tool. Many refugees preferred to take their chances alone rather than accept protection from creatures they considered barely civilized. Dr. Ben Clark approached the command station, his face grim with new intelligence. As the fleet's chief scientist, he had been studying captured Devourer technology for months. "Admiral, I've made a breakthrough in understanding how the Devourers work," Clark said, "and it's worse than we thought." "How much worse?" Clark activated a holographic display showing the galaxy with thousands of red dots spreading like infection. "The individual units we've been fighting are just drones. They're all controlled by a central intelligence located somewhere in the Galactic core. Every battle, every defeat, every tactic we use gets transmitted back to this main brain." Johnson studied the display. "You're saying they have a headquarters?" "More than that. They have a single controlling mind that learns from every encounter. The reason they're adapting so quickly is because they're sharing information instantly, across thousands of light years." "Where is this central intelligence located?" Clark highlighted a region near the galaxy's center, surrounded by dense clusters of red dots. "The Omega Sector. It's the most heavily defended region in known space. Every major civilization that ever tried to attack, it was completely destroyed." The bridge fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Attacking the Devourer homeworld would mean fighting through thousands of enemy units, crossing hostile space where no organic life could survive, and facing whatever defenses the machines had built over 1,000,000 years. "Gentlemen and ladies," Admiral Johnson said finally, "start. Planning for a direct assault on the Omega Sector?" "Sir," Colonel Green protested, "that's suicide. Even with our entire fleet, we'd be outnumbered 1,000 to 1. "Maybe, but if we don't destroy their central brain, they'll eventually adapt to all our tactics. Then they'll finish what they started and consume the entire galaxy." Captain Parker's voice came over the communication system from the Hunter. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. Commander Vexi wants to speak with you immediately." The main screen flickered to life, showing the arthropod alien's compound eyes reflecting exhaustion and fear. Behind him, other alien representatives looked equally desperate. "Admiral Johnson," Vexi began, "we have received disturbing reports about human military activities. Our survivors tell us that your forces are using increasingly destructive methods." "We're using effective methods," Johnson corrected. "Methods that actually work against the Devourers. But at what cost?" The Altair system was completely sterilized to deny resources to the enemy. 7 planets that could have been reclaimed were turned into lifeless rocks. "Those 7 planets would have become Devourer factories within a week," Johnson replied. "We saved the entire sector by denying them materials." The alien council members exchanged worried glances. Zarelli, the Altheri representative, leaned forward. "Admiral, we are grateful for your assistance, but your methods concern us. You fight like the Devourers themselves, destroying everything to achieve victory." Johnson felt his temper rising. "We fight to win. Your people fight to feel good about themselves, which is why you needed us to save you." "We did not ask you to become monsters in our defense," Vexi said quietly. "No," Johnson agreed. "You asked us to stop monsters. To do that effectively, we have to be more dangerous than they are." That's how predators work. The conversation was interrupted by alarms throughout the fleet. Captain Parker's urgent voice filled the bridge. Admiral, massive devourer force detected entering the system. Over 200 units, including some configurations we've never seen before. Johnson turned back to the alien council. Commander Vexai, this conversation will have to wait. We'll have a war to fight. The screen went dark as Johnson moved to the tactical station. Through the main viewer, he could see the Devourer fleet approaching like a mechanical storm. These units were different from the ones they had fought before, sleeker and more coordinated. All ships, battle stations, Johnson ordered. Let's see what the machines have learned. The battle that followed lasted 14 hours and became known as the Siege of Vega. The Devourers used new tactics, coordinated attacks, and defensive formations copied from human strategies. But they had made one crucial mistake in their analysis. Of human warfare, they thought humans fought like machines, following programmed patterns and logical strategies. They didn't understand that human commanders could abandon their own plans, ignore tactical doctrine, and make decisions based on intuition and desperation. When the Devourer forces surrounded the human fleet using a perfect encirclement maneuver, Admiral Johnson did something that violated every rule of space combat. He ordered all ships to accelerate directly toward the enemy center, turning the battle into a chaotic closage brawl where superior numbers meant nothing. The UES Retribution led the charge, ramming through Devourer formations while its guns fired in all directions. Human ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting with damaged systems and skeleton crews. Held together by nothing but stubbornness and spare parts, Sergeant Billy Thompson, now commanding a full battalion of Space Marines, led boarding actions on 12 different Devourer ships. His troops fought their way through mechanical corridors, placing explosive charges and causing internal damage that no alien species had ever imagined possible. These humans are insane, one Luminary observer transmitted to his homeworld. Fight battles they cannot win, and somehow win them anyway. When the battle ended, 37 human ships had been destroyed, but over 150 Devourer units lay in ruins. The victory came at a terrible cost. But it proved something important. The machines could copy human tactics, but they could not copy human spirit. As recovery operations began, Admiral Johnson received a message from deep space. It was from Dr. Lisa Carter back on Earth, now serving as humanity's ambassador to the galactic community. Admiral, I'm transmitting new intelligence about the Omega Sector. We've analyzed Devourer communications and found something interesting. Their central intelligence isn't just controlling the fleet, it's afraid. Johnson read the detailed report. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, the Devourer Collective was experiencing something it had never felt before: uncertainty about the outcome of a conflict. It's learning about us, just like we're learning about it, Johnson said to Colonel Green. The difference is, we're better at adapting to new situations. So what's our next move? Johnson looked out at the human fleet, battered but still fighting. In the distance, alien refugee ships watched nervously as human crews salvaged enemy technology and prepared for the next battle. We're going to do something that will either save the galaxy or destroy it, he said. We're going to attack the Omega Sector with everything we have. Sir, that's still suicide. A. Johnson smiled grimly. Colonel, we come from a world where survival was always suicide. The difference is, we got good at it. The final battle for the galaxy began at the edge of the Omega Sector, where Admiral Steve Johnson assembled the largest military fleet in galactic history. 120 human warships hung in space like a pack of metal wolves there, weapons charged and crews ready for what everyone knew would be humanity's greatest test. Captain Len Brooks stood on the bridge of the massive flagship U.S. Retribution, watching the tactical display show enemy positions throughout the sector. The Devourer homeworld was an artificial construct wrapped around a captured star, defended by over 10,000 mechanical units of every size and type. Admiral Brooks reported all ships are in position. Marine assault teams are ready for deployment. Dr. Gary Powell's experimental weapons are armed and targeted. Johnson nodded, studying the readings that showed the impossible odds they faced. The Devourers had been preparing this defense for 1,000,000 years, turning their core system into the most dangerous place in the galaxy. "Open a channel to all ships," Johnson ordered, throughout the human fleet. Crews stopped their preparations to listen to their commander's final words before battle. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we end this war. The machines think they know us now. They've studied our tactics, copied our strategies, and adapted to our weapons. But they still don't understand the most important thing about humans." Johnson paused, looking out at the enemy forces that outnumbered them 50-1. "We don't fight because we have to. We don't fight because it's logical. We fight because someone hurt our friends, and that makes us angry. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you make Deathworlders mad." The assault began when the UES Hunter, commanded by Captain Chris Parker, led a reconnaissance force toward the outer defenses. The Devourers responded exactly as expected, launching waves of hunter-killer drones and energy weapons. But the humans weren't trying to win this first engagement. They were gathering data, studying the enemy's new defensive patterns, and most importantly, getting the machines to reveal their strongest weapons. "All units fall back," Parker ordered as his ship took heavy damage. "We've seen enough." The withdrawal looked like a defeat to watching alien observers, but Johnson smiled as he reviewed the tactical data. The Devourers had shown him exactly what he needed to know. Dr. Powell Johnson called to the weapons specialist. "Are your new toys ready?" Dr. Gary Powell grinned from his position at the experimental weapons console. "Admiral, we're about to find out if physics has any limits. We haven't broken yet." The second wave of attack came from an unexpected direction. Instead of approaching the Devourer homeworld directly, human ships began targeting the space around it, firing weapons that seemed to tear holes in reality itself. The humans had taken alien faster-than-light technology and weaponized it, creating guns that could fold space and redirect energy across impossible distances. The weapons violated several laws of physics and would have horrified peaceful alien scientists. "What are they doing?" Commander Vexai asked from his observation post. Watching long-range sensors that showed space itself bending around the human weapons fire, the answer became clear when Devourer defensive positions began exploding from within. Human weapons were teleporting antimatter charges directly inside enemy ships, bypassing all shields and armor. The prime convergence. The Central Intelligence controlling all Devourer forces opened a communication channel for the first time in 1,000,000 years. Species designation: human. Your weapons violate accepted physical parameters. This method of warfare is unprecedented. Johnson stepped forward to respond. "Welcome to fighting Deathworlders. We don't follow your rules. Analysis indicates your assault will fail. Our defensive positions outnumber your forces by significant margins. Logical outcome predicts your complete destruction." "You made one mistake in your calculations," Johnson replied. "State your perceived error." "You assumed this was about logic." Johnson gave the signal that began the most insane military operation in galactic history. Every human ship accelerated at maximum speed directly toward the Devourer homeworld. Ignoring the thousands of enemy units trying to stop them, this wasn't a careful battle plan or a strategic maneuver. This was a frontal assault by creatures who had learned to survive on a world that tried to kill them every day. The humans fought with a desperation and fury that the machines could not calculate or counter. Captain Tony Martinez commanded the UES Vengeance as it rammed through 3 Devourer destroyers, its hull cracked and atmosphere leaking, but still firing every weapon it had. His last transmission became legendary throughout the galaxy. "This is for every world you consumed, you mechanical bastards." The Vengeance detonated its reactor core inside a Devourer construction facility, destroying both ship and enemy in a flash of nuclear fire. Lieutenant Sarah Kim led fighter squadrons that ignored their own survival odds, diving into enemy formations and fighting at point-blank range where superior numbers meant nothing. Her pilots flew damaged ships held together, by spare parts and determination. "We're not here to survive," Kim transmitted to her squadron. "We're here to make sure they don't either." The battle raged for 18 hours as human ships fought their way through layer after layer of Devourer defenses. For every human vessel destroyed, the enemy lost dozens of units. The math still favored the machines. Until Sergeant Billy Thompson did something that changed everything, leading the largest marine assault in human history. Thompson's forces didn't just board enemy ships. They began capturing Devourer communication nodes and using them to send false orders throughout the enemy fleet. If you can't beat their numbers, Thompson radioed to his Marines, make their numbers fight each other. Chaos spread through the Devourer ranks as units received conflicting orders and began engaging their own forces. The perfect coordination that had made them unstoppable for a million years became their weakness when humans turned it against them as the human fleet fought its way toward the central construct. The Prime Convergence made a calculation that horrified its mechanical mind. These creatures weren't just fighting for survival or territory. They were fighting because they had made friends with the galaxy's peaceful species. And someone had hurt those friends. The concept of protective violence was so alien to the machine intelligence that it could not develop effective countermeasures. Every strategy it deployed assumed the enemy would eventually retreat when losses became too high. But the humans kept fighting even when victory seemed impossible. Captain Helen Brooks received the final order from Admiral DeBill Johnson as the UES Retribution approached the Prime Convergence's core processing center. Captain rammed the flagship directly into their central brain. "We end this war today." "Sir, that's a suicide run." "I know. Tell the crew they can abandon ship if they want." Brooks made the announcement over the ship's communication system. Not a single crew member requested evacuation. Admiral Brooks reported, "The crew says they didn't come this far to miss the end of the war." The UES Retribution, its armor shattered, and hull breached in dozens of places, accelerated toward the heart of the Devourer homeworld. Enemy weapons fired continuously, but the ship kept coming, held together by the will of its crew and the desperate determination of a species that refused to surrender. As the flagship approached the Prime Convergence, Johnson opened a final communication channel. "This is Admiral Steve Johnson of the United Earth Forces. You wanted to know what makes humans different from other species? We protect our friends. And when someone hurts our friends, we hunt them down and make them pay." The Prime Convergence processed this information in the microseconds before impact. For the first time in its million-year existence, it experienced something approaching fear. Query: "Why do you sacrifice yourselves for species you barely know?" Johnson smiled as the Retribution's hull began to glow from enemy fire. "Because that's what Deathworlders do. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves." The UES Retribution smashed into the Prime Convergence's central core, its nuclear reactor detonating in a blast that could be seen from nearby star systems. The explosion destroyed the controlling intelligence that had directed Devourer forces across the galaxy. Within hours, Devourer units throughout space began shutting down as their controlling mind went silent. The million-year threat to Galactic civilization ended not with advanced technology or brilliant strategy, but with humans doing what they had always done best, fighting impossible odds to protect others. 6 months later, Dr. Lisa Carter stood in the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers, now located on Earth, as humanity's first ambassador to the galaxy. She was helping establish new relationships between human protectors and alien civilians. The ceremony was simple. Representatives from dozens of surviving alien species had come to sign the Human Protection Compact. It's an agreement that placed peaceful worlds under Earth's military protection. "The galaxy has learned something important," Carter said to the assembled aliens. "Sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected place." He called for help, and the universe answered by sending predators who happened to be pointing their teeth in the right direction. Commander Vex High, now serving as alien liaison to human forces, stepped forward. "Dr. Carter, on behalf of all peaceful species, we thank you. But we must ask, what happens now?"